What's going on, everyone? Welcome on in to another episode of Golf on Tap. As always, I'm Jack Bushman here with Joey Riccata. Make sure to go and give him a follow on X at Joey Knows Nothing. You can find me at Jack Bushman too. Go and follow the show page as well at On Tap Golf. And also make sure to go and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, wherever you may be listening to your podcast. It'll be 100% free. And that way, if you're not able to jump in with us live, you'll still be able to catch up on all of the latest episodes. Today, we'll be getting into our final bets for this week's RBC Heritage, the week after the Masters. But it's another signature event here on the PGA Tour, the 5th of 8 that we'll see here this season. We basically got all the big names from Augusta last week back on site again this week here at Harbor Town, aside from Victor Hovland and Hideki Matsuyama. Scotty Scheffler, unfortunately, is here, even though he's coming off of a win at the Masters, his second green jacket in the last 3 years, and his third win in his past 4 starts. I think a lot of us were keeping our fingers crossed that Scotty was going to WD from this bad boy and maybe go and spend some more time with Meredith. But funny enough, Scotty talked after winning the Masters, saying he was just really excited to go home. But then we see, he's still in the field this week at Harbor Town. There are pictures of him surfacing out at a nice tavern in Texas on Monday morning. So I'm questioning how much time Scotty Scheffler really wants to spend with his life. Maybe he is more of a typical dude than we give him credit for. But Joey, excited to be back for another show, my friend. I know last week was a little heartbreaking as you were on Colin Morikawa, which I got to give you a lot of respect for, because not only did you just stick with the future that you had, 25-1, which I know I teased you for last week, but
deservedly so.
I mean, going into the season, it's not like I had high hopes as well for Colin Morikawa entering this year. I bet him at the Century because I really thought he was going to want to get off to that good start. And at the time, 25-1, felt like a good number, but you were confident enough in it that you double dipped back at the 50s or 55s or whatever it was last week. Gave you a more entertaining Sunday than I certainly had, as I was rooting for Xander Schauffele to make a charge on Sunday, which is never a good idea. Scotty takes our money once again, Joey, but we're back this week to try to not let that happen once again. How you doing, my friend? And how was your weekend watching the Masters, buddy?
Spending time with his wife. What a fraud. What a fraud. He's such a liar. No, man, it was good. Great weekend overall. Had a awesome time just watching this tournament. Was rushing back home on Sunday after our men's rec league baseball game to be able to catch the end of this, and really what was just televised on local, because it didn't start televised till 2 p.m. So I didn't miss anything from that front, because you got to stream everything on ESPN Plus and just search around, and just ridiculous, Jack. Again, it's the Masters. What are we doing? I don't care that, these guys aren't in contention. It's still the Masters. I want to watch the guys that are down the field, of course, I say that, and I couldn't actually watch on Sunday before that time. But the rest of the days leading up to that, I know I was messaging you, and I'm like, come on, man. This is just fucking stupid. What are we doing? But yeah, it was really entertaining. Like you said, I had a guy that I was sweating there down the stretch with Morikawa, and it felt pretty good because – even when we were talking on the show, it was like I wasn't super confident with where his game was. And obviously that's why his number was what it was, being pre-tournament at 55-1. And that was, the best number I could find. But I feel like, yeah, we both did have those high hopes for him coming into this year. And he showed us a lot previously that I'm like, you know what? He's such a good course fit here. And maybe he just has one of those random pop-ups, and he did. And unfortunately, he got himself into some trouble there. I believe it was the 9th where he got caught in the sand and had to double dip, couldn't get out of the sand. And then on, I believe the 11th, like we were talking off air, we put one in the drink. So a couple of double bogeys there that really did him in. And that's frustrating to see, because earlier in the round, he really looked like he had a chance to make some noise and put some birdies in. And he couldn't capitalize on those. And as soon as that happened, I was just sitting there and I'm like, yeah, Scotty's going to figure this out eventually. And this is not going to be good for Mr. Morikawa. So that is what happened. Morikawa made some absolutely fantastic shots there and took it home. But it's just not fun betting the favorites, and that's why I just cannot stand. Like he's so fucking annoying, Jack. I'm sorry. Sorry for all the cussing so far to open up this show, but that's where I'm at. I'm just he's so good to the point where now I'm annoyed with him. He's like one of those those franchise teams that you look at in other sports where you just this team I can't stand because they're in the NBA finals every year, like the Warriors, or he's one of those teams now at this point. And he's so young that it's going to be awesome to watch his growth even from here. But how much more can the guy grow? And then you look at the model for this week, Jack. I'm looking at your model, and he's second in strokes gained for this course. So I'm like, what do we do here? He's 4-1. He's halfway boosted odds, or just like you cannot get better than 4.5 to 1 for his odds. So it's like I'm getting a little bit annoyed with the golf betting right now. I am. I'm a little bit annoyed, and I hate to say that because we did win a bet with Tiger Woods making the cut, so that's cool. At least we got a little bit of an entertaining tournament. But yeah, man, long little ramble there to say I'm good and I'm excited to be here.
It was always Scotty, man. It was always Scotty. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It is very frustrating on Sunday just watching him do what he does, even when it feels like he's not on his A game. And I texted you, like, I think I texted you on Sunday, like Scheffler, it doesn't seem like he has his best stuff going here today. And it felt like the tournament was up for grabs at one point in time. I mean, I think it was either after 7 or after 8, there was that 4-way tie. Morikawa was there, along with Homa and Luddy F. Baby. And yeah, just Scotty was the one who ended up not making the mistakes down the stretch like everybody else did. Ludwig hit it in the drink, as you referenced to. Morikawa did as well on 11, and also had that little situation occur in the bunker there. And then Max Homa hit it in the bushes on 12 and made double bogey. And then not only did Scotty not make mistakes down the stretch, but he honestly only got better in those final 4 or 5 holes. Like, he really poured it on. And again, I've been putting it on Twitter for a while now. Scotty Scheffler, it's just inevitable what he's doing, man. Pretty terrifying.
He's the boogeyman.
He is the boogeyman. And unfortunately, the boogeyman is once again in the field here this week. As you referenced at the top of the betting board, the biggest odds you can find on him are at like 4.5 to 1. It's frustrating knowing that there's a very real chance that Scotty could come here on a course where I think he finished 11th last year, that he certainly has the capability of taking down. He just has that upside anywhere he tees it up because of the way that he strikes the ball from tee to green. He doesn't make 2 bad shots in a row, and now he's suddenly got the putter going. Yeah, it's terrifying stuff, but I'm just not going to be able to get behind it at that number, man. It's just really not what we do around here. And Look, I know he's won 3 of his last 4 starts, and I'm sure, and this is the annoying part about not betting Scotty, is you talk to all these different people about your golf bets, and after the tournament ends, they're like, well, why didn't you bet Scotty? And I'm like, listen, fuckface, like, I'm not in the business of betting 4 to 1 winners. Like, it would take me 2.5, maybe even a full 3 of Scotty to win, like, ideally what I want to win per week. And like, it takes away, listen, winning money is always going to be the most fun part about doing this. Undoubtedly,
Absolutely.
winning money is the most fun part. But there also isn't a lot of fun of just being like, oh, I'm just going to bet Scotty this week. Like, no research. I'm just going to go bet Scotty off the top. Like, I kind of take pride in, I like to think about how I'm able to go through my model and find certain players and find guys maybe who are a little bit undervalued or underrated going into this week. Like, I really do enjoy the process of learning the course, learning the nuances and the intricacies, and which players tend to do well on certain designs or certain courses designed by certain architectures. Like, I enjoy that entire process, and just going and betting Scotty at the top of the board. I've done it before. I did it at the Genesis Invitational earlier this year. I did it at the Open Championship last year. Like, I'm not 100% against it, but I think the number has to make sense. And at 4 to 1 to win a golf tournament, I just can't really get behind that unless I'm like 1,000% convinced that Scotty Scheffler is going to win. And listen, a quick turnaround after the Masters, the whirlwind that he's gone through. I don't expect Meredith to give birth this week, but there's all that going on with him emotionally. And he even mentioned today that it's been a quick turnaround. And while he has played here before, he only played 9 holes today during the Pro-Am and hasn't even practiced on the front 9. So listen, all of that could mean literally nothing. Like I said, Scotty Scheffler can win every week on any course, but it's enough to me to not go and bet this guy at 4.5 to 1, like I said. And there are other guys at bigger odds that I just feel more inclined to bet. So look, I'm not going to be breaking any news here. Scotty Scheffler is the world number 1 for a reason, and there is a large gap between him and everyone else, even the second best player in the entire world. So yeah, he can do it. Yeah, he deserves to be the favorite. He's probably deserving of having those odds, but I'm just not going to be on it this week, man.
I think you had some really good advice last week when you said something about, it was something along the lines of, if you're a casual golf bettor, if you're not betting every week, if you're just tuning in because it's the Masters or the PGA Championship or something like that, and you want to just have some action on it, Scotty Scheffler's the best in the world. Scotty Scheffler's on fire. You want to just place a wager, go ahead and bet him. But when you're in the weeds, restaurant term right there.
I love it.
Got a lot of tables, got a lot of 8 tops, whatever we're looking at here. We're in the weeds. When you're in the weeds every week and you're betting these guys and you're investing money, and like you said, really looking at your models and who can do well where, there's no sense in betting a guy that's 4.5 to 1. I'm sorry, I can't do it. And it's just not fun for me as someone who's going to be watching the tournament. And just, you can look at the people that drive me nuts are the ones that like, oh, I knew Scotty was going to win. I just knew it. Well, yeah, I mean, we all kind of thought he might win, right?
Yeah, right.
Like neither one of you were on this show last week like, oh, Scotty has no chance to win. He's probably going to win. It was what we were probably both thinking in our head. You literally took him for your one and done pick, which, congratulations, my friend. You kicked my ass last week. John Rahm did not do me any favors. I had him last year. Thought it was a safe pick because, you can only really use him in the majors now. So I was like, well, let's get this one out of the way. Let's use John Rahm, and that completely backfired. But no, man, we loved Scotty Scheffler going into the tournament. And even I think I got the one bet that I did get right with Scheffler was that I actually placed on him.
I saw this. Good move.
Was what was the former champions, right? Or yeah. I mean, he's another champion again. So it's like, okay, if you're the plus 140, something like that. But like, all he had to do was beat all the other champions. He didn't have to win the tournament. And I was like, that's good enough exposure. It's not quite the payout of a 4.5 to 1 or whatever his odds were last week. But it's just a way to get kind of creative when you still want to hit those long numbers. And I think that's what I'm going to kind of keep looking to do with Scheffler, because his numbers are not going to get any better, at least for the foreseeable future. I mean, that's the hard part about this, is we're going to go in and week out, and he's going to be at the top of the board, and he's going to be, as you said, he's a level above the next best golfer. So it's going to be reflective in those odds, and we just cannot. You or I are just not going to do it most weeks. That's
it's getting to the point where, like, at least in my situation, like, if you want to bet Scotty, you might have to go and parlay him with a baseball game. Find a nice little winner out there in a baseball game or something along those lines. Cause I just can't get to him at those odds. But yeah, I mean, you said it, like, a lot of people thought that Scotty Scheffler was going to win this tournament. The biggest thing the biggest gripe that I have about, like, the Scotty backers last week, I saw people having, like, Scotty and, like, 3 other people on their card. And I'm like, bro, come on, people acting like they're sharps having Scotty Scheffler and other people on their betting card. It's like, cool, you win 3 times your money. Yeah. Okay, that's the business you want to play. Good luck hitting winners 70% of the weeks, buddy.
Look, profit is profit at the end of the day, and I won't hate on anyone for whatever your strategy is, right? But the thing of it is I think long term, like we want to end the season on a really good note. Like, we might not win that many outrights. Right now, where are we at, Jack? 3 for the season. So
yeah,
it's not like we're doing great numbers, 3 or 4 for the season. It's not like that, but we've made some decent money, I feel like, or at least we're getting closer to that, like, really good number where we feel good about where the year's going. And yeah, it is what it is. You know, to each their own. You watch the show for the information too, like with us. I mean, that's all that really counts in my book. Like, we're here to have fun. We're here to talk strategy and try to find some longer odds down the board, which we're going to do this week, man. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. What do you say? You want to go ahead and get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not trying to unit shame or anything, but like if you just want to put
Yeah.
$5 on guys, absolutely, more than willing to do it. But like if you're gonna bet Scotty Scheffler, there's no point in betting other people. Like that's what I'm trying to get at. Just bet Scotty
Yeah.
Scheffler. Like there's no room to be betting Scotty Scheffler and other people. You're just doing yourself a little bit of a disservice, in my opinion, at that point in time. But yeah, absolutely excited to get on into the odds. We're excited to be spewing out information, everyone. And as always, make sure to go and hop in the comment section right now. If you're watching this on X, go and join into the YouTube feed and make sure to hit that like button. Comment down below as to the guys you're going to be tailing this week at Harbor Town. And also make sure to go and use that promo code on tap at Bet Rivers. If you're not already a member there, go and sign up. Use that promo code up to a $250 match on your first deposit. Make sure to get that shout out in for our fine folks over there at Bet Rivers, because forget the kind lady's name that was on the chat with me a couple of weeks ago when I was letting her hear it about not having the enhanced offers. They've now brought them back. So shout out Bet Rivers for listening to us over here, Joey.
Shout out, nice lady.
Exactly. I wish I could remember. I think it was Gabriella, maybe Danielle, maybe something with a couple L's in it.
There you go.
Best I got for you.
You heard it from Unit Shamer Jack, Gabrielle.
Yeah, not Unit Shamer Jack. No, just if you're gonna bet Scotty, just have some balls and don't just bet Scotty by himself.
No,
I
dude,
don't
it's great.
that.
It's great advice, man. You gave it last week, and that's why I felt like the need to bring it up again. Because yeah, it's just it's pretty stupid if we're thinking about it logically. It's pretty stupid. Not to call anybody stupid, but it's pretty stupid if you're doing that. Anyways. That said, Jack, I want to hear about this place. We did last year. I was on Patrick Cantlay as one of my picks. We had some other picks, but he came close. He's got a really good track record here, and that's probably obviously I have a lot of interest again this week in him, even though I do not want to bet him on most weeks because I'm kind of annoyed with him most of the time. But tell me about it, man. Harbor Town Golf Links in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Just a couple hours away from Augusta National, so they're not going too far. Maybe that allowed Scotty to do a little bit more partying, even though, he said he was going home, that fraud. Another elevated event. Here we got 69 golfers. It's a no-cut event. One of the shortest courses on tour, Jack. So what do you think here looking at Harbor Town?
Yeah, I really like this course. Really like this event. I'm glad it does have the signature event status for the second consecutive year. Kind of interesting timing coming the week after the Masters. But yeah, as you mentioned, one of the shortest courses on the PGA Tour. It's just over 7,200 yards. Plays as a par 71. But what I really like about this course is it is one of the shorter tracks, still part of the PGA Tour schedule that hasn't been completely outdone by modern technology. And you can't really go and overpower this place. In fact, it's one of the few courses on the PGA Tour where you don't really get rewarded for hitting it further. So accuracy and positioning is really what it's all about off of the tee here because of just how this course is structured. And that's what Pete Dye does with a lot of his courses. And that's why his work is so known and so renowned all across the United States. Really strategically placed fairway bunkers. You got dogleg shaped holes. You got water hazards on 9 of the 18 holes. So players are going to be clubbing down a good, like 50% on 50% of their tee shots on the par 4s and the par 5s, just because they're going to be needing to play to certain positions. And while the fairway rough is only supposed to be about 1.5 inches thick, the real difficulty of Harbor Town is the greens. They're the second smallest greens on the PGA Tour. Really hard to hit greens in regulation consistently. So yeah, the fairway rough isn't really all that tricky, but it certainly doesn't help in hitting these greens that are already more difficult to hit than normal what the PGA Tour players face on a week-to-week basis. Not really like super long par fours. Most of them are in between 400 to 450 yards, but you are going to be playing a little bit further back just because of all the layups. So I'm still looking at 150 to 175 yards, 175 to 200. That's a pocket range that I'm looking at. And I also firmly believe around the green and scrambling is really important here as well, because as I just alluded to, guys are going to be missing greens in regulation, and you are going to have to find a way to get up and down, especially if the winds come into play. That's truly what dictates kind of what the scoring conditions are going to be on Hilton Head Island. Obviously, it's a coastal track right up along the water, and if the winds get gusting, you can see a winning score around, 13, 14, 15 under. But if the winds are down, you could see this thing turn into a little bit more of a birdie fest, and the winner will probably have to get somewhere around minus 19 or minus 20. From what I've seen right now, it looks like the winds are not going to be as severe as they were at Augusta last week, but doesn't look like they're going to be completely down either. So maybe like a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind for over the weekend. So if I had to guess, Joey, I'd probably guess around the 17 to 18 range is the winning score. But the type of players that I'm kind of looking at this week, first off, Pete Dye specialists. There are just certain guys that usually play well on Pete Dye courses, or even similarly set up tracks like Sedgefield, the host of the Wyndham, or maybe even Wiley Country Club, the host of the Sony Open. And Copperhead's Innisbrook Resort has also had a lot of crossover between the leaderboards. Guys who have done well at Valspar have also kind of done well here. And when we talked about the Valspar a few weeks ago, I referenced that it does have a little bit of a Carolina-based feel to it. So I think it makes sense to have that as a correlation, but I'm going to be targeting guys who are on a good ball striking run right now, who do well on Pete Dye courses, guys who are able to avoid bogeys and not make a lot of big numbers, not make a lot of big mistakes, and also guys who have been putting well here as of late, because while these are typically Bermuda greens, this early in the season, because this is played in April now, they're overseeded with POA. And we've seen that a lot on the PGA Tour schedule over the last 2 months or so. And I've kind of just been looking at guys who have putted well over the last 24 rounds to get a little bit of a time frame, or a little bit of an understanding who's been putting well during that time frame. So those are kind of the things that I'm looking at here this week. 2 of the 3 par 5s are pretty short and going to be manageable. The 15th hole is the only one that's really a challenge for these guys. So yeah, like I said, elite ball strikers, guys who are in good form, good history on Pete Dye courses, and also have a sturdy enough short game to avoid blow up holes and getting in trouble. Because even though this is a short course, it's tree lined, you can find yourself in some tough situations. So yeah, it's kind of what I'm going to be looking at this week at Harbor Town Golf Links, one of truly my favorite courses on the PGA Tour because of the way it's set up and doesn't allow for guys who just mash the golf ball to go and absolutely run wild over this place.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there. I think that's definitely a key because of the tree lined fairways, and then the dog legs, so many of them, and the small greens. I mean, it's going to be hard to hit greens and reg this week. So yeah, the scrambling could be a little bit more important. That's something I didn't really look at this week, that too much. But that could really be something that you need to look at. Yeah, accuracy, of course. I love these kind of weeks where you got to rely a little bit more on the accuracy. There's some good names, I think, this week you could possibly take advantage of that look good here. Good drives gained, of course. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. I think we have seen over the years, too, guys that have had good track records here generally do pretty well as far as the correlation goes. They seem to, anyways, do good a year over year, or, maybe they have a down year, but then they bounce back the year after that. So I'm kind of looking for guys that might have even missed the cut last year, but have a good track record at this course. So, like you mentioned, 19 under, if that gets to there. The last time that happened was 2021 with Stewie Sink, your boy.
Stu.
Yeah, good old Stu. And then Webb Simpson, 22 under in 2020. Outside of that, though, last couple of years, we saw Fitzpatrick 17 under, and then Spieth the year before in 2022 at 13 under. So it could play difficult at times, but it's interesting that you noted the wind not being maybe as much of a factor this year. So we'll see how that plays. But if Scotty's in here and he's playing like Scotty, you could absolutely see like a 22 under. I could I could totally see that, even though I don't. I think there's enough reasons to say he's not going to win this week. Like, I would put my money on him not winning this week over most weeks, even though we just were saying how we're never going to count him out, which we're not. But yeah, Jack, with that said, and all the course kind of key notes that you're looking at here, or key stats, golfers in good form, what do you say we go ahead and look at the top of the board and see if we could pick out some outrights?
Yes, I am ready for that. Last thing I will say to put a bow on this real quick. Looking at Windfinder here right now, nothing crazy at any point throughout the tournament. Thursday looks like the max gusts during playing hours are 15. During Friday, same thing, 14, 15. Saturday, 15. So yeah, between 10 to 15 miles an hour for a majority of the tournament. So it doesn't look like it's going to be anything too crazy. The real intriguing storyline for this week that I'll leave you all with is, you kind of referenced Stuart Sink. We've seen him win here. We've seen Webb Simpson win here. Wesley Bryan, Satoshi Kodaira, some more unknown name guys have kind of been able to hang with, it hasn't been a signature event until last year, but have been able to take advantage of a course like this and pick up huge wins. Now that it is a signature event, is it still going to offer up opportunities for some lesser known players to hang with the big dogs, or is it going to turn into more of a big names at the top, like we saw last week at Augusta, like we saw at the Arnold Palmer Invitational for Bay Hill? I think that's kind of the fascinating intricacy going into this week, is how is the event going to play out now that it is a signature event. But yes, ready to get into the odds board, my friend.
Yeah, and if I had to guess real quick on that, I would say it probably lends itself more towards the top players, not just because it's a signature event, but because there's less guys in the field and they're just better names.
True.
There's a lot better names. So I think I would lean more that way, since guys aren't dipping out as much on this tournament. And like we have seen over the last, let's see here, 2 years, pretty good names. Those are big names that have won it. So just a guess there, but yeah, man, let's look at it. So we got Scotty, of course, boogeyman right there, 4.5 to 1. Looks like the best number you can get him at. Maybe you get a boost somewhere. I don't know. Rory, 12 to 1. Xander is 12 to 1, who you were on this past week and really with some good life there. I mean, he was, he wasn't in it. It didn't feel like down the stretch, but he put up a good fight and finishing top 10, had a good week at the Masters. Luddy F Baby, so impressive, man. His poise, he looked great. Does not look like a kid at all. 14 to 1, and then we have Patrick Cantlay, 16 to 1 to round out the top 5 here at the RBC Heritage. So Jack, your thoughts here at the top of the board, and your guy for last week.
Yeah. Interesting top of the board for me. Even though it is a signature event, quite honestly, under 30 to 1, not a ton of interest for your boy here. I know we're not past 16 to 1. We've only gotten 5 names here in this group. There was only really 2 I was considering from here. Patrick Cantlay, I was considering, just because of his special course history, man. I think he's got 4 top 5s and 6 trips to Harbor Town. I was on him last year, so it was pretty frustrating that he birdied the 18th hole on Sunday and came up just 1 short shy of the playoff between Jordan Spieth and Matthew Fitzpatrick. I thought about going back to Cantlay, even though kind of showed signs of life at the Masters last week. One thing you got to remember is, when taking a look at his numbers, the approach was boosted heavily because he holed out for eagle twice from the fairway. And even the rest of his game, man, just it hasn't been good for Patrick Cantlay, truthfully, since he melted down on the weekend at the Genesis Invitational. So I wanted to get back in, just don't think I could do it at that 16, 17 to 1 number that's out there right now, just given the current form. I did bet Xander. I did it.
All right.
12 to 1. Actually, I lied.
I understand it.
I lied. I haven't bet Xander yet because I know the 12-1s are gonna stay there, and I'm hoping that someone will give me a 13 or a 14 before the night ends. But I am going to bet Xander Schauffele. Listen, is he a lovable loser? Yes, but we all have them. We all have our lovable losers that we bet on. And I really like, Joey, we've been pretty good about doing the show for most of the big events throughout the season. The weeks that we should be doing shows for, we do them. And it's not like I have like a love for Xander Schauffele. Like, I'm really not a Xander Schauffele lover. Like, we were both feeling good about him at the US Open last year. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, but like, I never really have like lingering effects for Xander Schauffele. And I'm not a constant Xander better. But I was just inclined to get back on board this week because of just how damn good he's been this season, Joey. Just a top 10 machine. 3 in a row now after a T8 last week at the Masters. And yeah, I know it was a classic Xander performance. He was never in the hunt for the win. He finished 8th. All the results look good. It's a typical Xander performance, but man, dude, just diving into these numbers, he has been so good all year long. By the way, not only is it 3 top 10s in a row, he's gained strokes in all 4 major categories in 3 starts in a row. He's done that 5 times in 9 starts this season. He's got 7 top 10s. And he's coming back to a place that, while he doesn't have great history here as a whole, he finished 4th here last year, gained over 10 strokes ball striking. Like, man, there's just a real argument to be made about Xander Schauffele being the second best player in the world right now, other than Scotty Scheffler. And I know the win hasn't come for him yet, and it's been almost 2 years since his last victory. But if he keeps playing like this, man, I'm really hard pressed to think it's not going to happen soon. And like, all of the numbers in my model stand out for Xander. 2nd in strokes gained tee to green, 3rd in strokes gained total, 3rd in bogey avoidance, 4th around the green, 11th in strokes gained approach all over the last 24 rounds. If you shrink the approach down to the last 12 rounds, he's 5th in that category, 25th in putting over the last 24 rounds. And as I alluded to, these guys have been playing on a lot of greens that have been overseeded with POA here as of late. So like, in a top of the betting board that really doesn't have me that intrigued, I kind of feel okay with betting Xander Schauffele, even if it, excuse me, winds up being at 12-1 this week. I'm okay with it because he just stands out in so many different ways. We saw him perform here well last week. It has been an excellent season out of Xander Schauffele. He literally has one finish outside of the top 25. Also, one of his last wins came at another Pete Dye course, TPC River Highlands. We saw him nearly win at the Players Championship earlier this season, another Pete Dye design. So, yeah, a lot of things just point me to Xander this week. And given that he's going to play next week at the Zurich with Patrick Cantlay, but I don't know if we're going to see him again until the Wells Fargo, given that there will be a little bit of a cold stretch in terms of like his scheduling, where I won't be feeling inclined to bet him and like continuing this run. I'm okay with getting back on Xander here at 12-1. So he was only bet for me in this range here at the top of the board. Joey, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think to your point, I think he's due. He's just due, man. At some point, that's coming really soon here for Xander Schauffele. So I like the pick. Going back to the well here, back-to-back weeks. I wanted to do it with Luddy. I really did, just because of what he showed last week. But I feel like inevitably, I just think it's probably another top 10 for him. It's going to be another top 10 at this point. Maybe not though. Maybe not. He could absolutely win it. But I don't think we're going to need to go there, because I do feel really good about Patrick Cantlay this week. And a lot of it is like you said, and it was actually it's 5 of his 6 trips here. He's got top 10s, and 4 of those are T3 or better, but he's without the win. So, I mean, I was on him here last year, given the great course history, and then, finishing 3rd. The T22 at the Masters last week, it's encouraging. I mean, you made some good points about holding out there on one of those, which kind of, skewed the numbers a little bit as far as the approach goes, but maybe he's getting back on the right track, and that's pun intended here for him. So I do like Cantlay. I'm going to go back to the well, I think, with him, even though it's not like the great. I would prefer like a 20-1 or better. I don't know if he's been bet down at all or not, but
yes.
I think maybe I can get a boost on him or something, get him up to like 17, 18. I still feel pretty good about that if I'm starting the card there. But other than that, man, I don't have a lot of love here because I think Colin Morikawa, the accuracy would be great here because he's been really good with the accuracy here this season. But it's kind of a letdown. As good as he was last week, to not pull that through and just the fashion that kind of things broke down for him. I don't think that a win is coming after that. I think that's pretty emotional for him that he's head hunting at this point too, some of those majors. And could he perform well here? Absolutely, but I'm not going to go there. Never Tommy Fleetwood. Those are the only guys that are under 20 to 1. I don't know if you had thoughts about Morikawa or Fleetwood, but
yeah. Yeah, I just can't get back. I mean, I wasn't on board with Morikawa last week, so I probably don't feel like as inclined as necessarily you do, perhaps, or like maybe some others do after seeing what they saw last week. I never said this to you because I'm not going to put this out in the ether for you. Like, I'm a good co-host. I was rooting for you on Sunday, man, but I never
appreciate it.
I never believed in Morikawa to actually win this thing. Like, I talked about this with Ross on Monday too. And listen, this has literally nothing to do with anything. Like, deserving or not deserving doesn't come into a factor in the outcome of a golf tournament, right? But I personally felt like Colin Morikawa wasn't deserving of winning the Masters with how he's been playing so far this season. Like, the irons haven't been good for him. The long irons in particular was really what's been concerning because that was like the best part of his game for so long.
Yeah,
and he's kind of lost that this year. Could Colin Morikawa do it? Yeah, absolutely. But like at 18 to 1, I'd like to see more. Like, I'd like to see more than just like 1 week or actually kind of even just like 2 rounds of being really good, returning to peak level Morikawa. I think I'd have to see more than what just happened this weekend to get back on him at 18 to 1. And Tommy Fleetwood at 18 to 1 is a joke. Like, listen, I've said it time and time again. I'll be happy for Tommy when he wins. The only way I'm getting back aboard a Tommy Fleetwood bet is if he's at like 50 or 60. And even then, I'm really thinking about it because the RBC Canadian Open just scarred me. If it didn't happen then, I don't know how it's ever going to happen. And I'm certainly not going to get on board at 18 to 1. So yeah, both of those are passes for me this week.
I will say Tommy looked pretty good at spurts this last week at the Masters.
Yeah, but when it didn't fucking matter. It didn't fucking matter. Yeah, he plays good when it doesn't matter on Sundays when he can't actually win. On Sundays when he can't actually win, he never plays good. And I'm okay with missing it. I'm okay with missing it. If he does want to shock the world and play well on this Sunday and win this thing, I'm okay with missing it at 18 to 1. Sometimes you just have to be. You can't bet everyone.
Yep. And you know what, though? That's what they do. They show his beautiful shots on Sundays, like you said, when he's not in contention. And it's like, oh, damn, Tommy, there we go. Like, it just gets people excited for no reason. And I mean, and I will say this, he's second this year in driving accuracy. And we know that could be a key factor here. So it's not like he can't do well here. I think he really can, but the win, it's the win. Do you believe in the win? I don't.
Not at 18 to 1. Not at 18 to 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We're totally on the same page there. So looking at the rest of the board here, so those are all the guys that were under 20 to 1. Let's go ahead and look at another name who me and you weren't that high on last week, but had a pretty solid week. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 25 to 1, and then Max Homa, 28 to 1. Cam Young is 30 to 1. Jordan Spieth and Will Zalatoris as well at 30 to 1. And then you got Siwoo Kim and Wim Clark at 35 to 1. So from 25 to 35, some good names in here. Some guys with some good course history here as well. And then, like I mentioned about Fitzpatrick, Max Homa had a great week at the Masters. Some hiccups there as well. But, I mean, it's the Masters. He was absolutely incredible for the most part. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this range?
Yeah, really intriguing range, especially because the top really didn't do it for me other than Xander Schauffele. Matt Fitzpatrick was someone I thought about. And even though like the underlying numbers don't really look great, despite him now having 3 top 25s in a row, like he lost over 2 strokes on the approach at the Masters last week, also lost nearly 2 strokes around the green. Like there haven't really been any consistencies in his game other than putting. But what I found rather weird was he was kind of in the same form going into Hilton Head last year. Like missed the cut at the Players, missed the cut at the Valspar, 31st at the Dell Technologies match play, which if you don't know, like that's bracket style. So if you come in 31st, you kind of sucked. I think there were only 36 or 32 guys in it. So like one and done basically at the match play. Did find something with a T10 at the Masters and then won it at Heritage. And like going into the Masters, before the win at Harbor Town, he had lost on his approach shots in 3 straight starts. So like he certainly can show that he can turn a corner rather quickly. And there's something just about Matthew Fitzpatrick. He likes winning on golf courses only that he has connections at, like the Country Club when he won the U.S. Open. He won the U.S. Am there. Hilton Head is somewhere he used to frequent when he was young with his family. It was a family vacation spot, so he wins there. So there's just something about this place for Matthew Fitzpatrick. So I gave him a long look, but ultimately I just didn't get there because I just haven't seen the consistencies in his game. I thought about Max Homa, who's quietly not only like obviously the Masters is going to get everyone's attention, but he's quietly been better as of late. The off the tee is starting to be good again for Max Homa when that was really troublesome for him to start the year. Hasn't been really good on Pete Dye designs this year, so that kind of got me off of him. Cam Young can't do it at 30-1. Jordan Spieth, I don't think I'd be interested in at 60-1. The guy is so absolutely lost right now. Will Zalatoris, interesting thing about him, he's really, really bad at putting, even with his broomstick on greens that are that have POA overseed. So kind of enough to steer me away from him. Siwoo is the Pete Dye master in his career, but I don't think I get there at 35-1. Wyndham Clark, though, Joey, I'm interested to see if my boy, the Windy City Whisperer, is on him here this week because I bet him. I bet him at 40-1. I bet him at 40-1. I thought 40 was a ridiculous number, man. And like, I know he missed the cut at the Masters last week and probably deserves so after he threw that little jab towards Liv and then blew up on the second round. But
he's a villain right now.
He is a villain, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Willing to cheat for my money. I'm here for that, absolutely, if he's stepping down his lies. And while he hasn't been good at Harbor Town in his career, he doesn't have a top 25 here so far in his career, Joey. He's been dynamite on Pete Dye Designs in 2024, and we know when he has his best stuff, he is capable of hanging in there with the boogeyman known as Scotty Scheffler.
He's not scared of him.
And he's not scared of him, not scared whatsoever. And he's got that confidence, that cockiness, that dog in him. We know he's one of the guys that can just flip the switch when it matters the most. And we saw him, yes, it was only in 3 rounds, but he won at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Pete Dye nearly made it to a playoff with Scotty Scheffler at the Players Championship. Pete Dye. And one thing that I think has kind of gone underrated about Wyndham's development in his game, I wrote about this in my article today in my best bets for the RBC Heritage. Make sure to go and check that out at OnTap Sportsnet if you haven't done so already, for just some numbers on the guys that I'm backing this week. But Wyndham's ability with his 3-iron off of the tee, man, there was a par 5 in that final round at TPC Sawgrass that he reached in 2 shots. He actually stuck it to within 5 feet on his second shot by going 3-iron. Like, yes, power with the driver is his bread and butter, but I also think he's gotten much better off the tee with his layup clubs. And I think that's going to do him favors on this course. And I think that's why we've seen him do better at some of the shorter courses featured on the PGA Tour. And then just looking at the numbers, like along with Xander, Wyndham has an argument to be the second best player in the world right now. He's 4th in strokes gained total, 5th in greens and regulation, 10th in strokes gained tee to green, 10th in approach, 16th in bogey avoidance, and 29th in approach putting over the last 24 rounds. He also ranks 14th in strokes gained putting during that same time span. So signature events seem to be Wyndham's jam. Pete Dye courses in 2024 seem to be his jam. You're giving me 40-1 odds on him, the same odds that Russell Henley has, bigger odds than Siwoo Kim, bigger odds than Cameron Young, bigger odds than Jordan Spieth. I'm all aboard, brother. Saddle up. I'm back on the Wyndham train this week.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Look, this is becoming a weekly thing.
The disrespect, the fucking gall.
The gall, Jack, the nerve of these odds makers. You might have just talked me into it because I wasn't whispering in my head Wyndham Clark this
I
week.
would have liked to hear that. That would have made me feel a little bit better about it. If
I know.
you were really feeling it.
I know. But I'm still on board with
Okay.
this pick very much. Like,
I like
don't get
that.
me wrong, because I'm thinking about it. You might have actually talked me into it, and I know I say that about a few guys weekly, and then somehow like there's certain instances where I still will stick with my guns pre-show afterwards, and sometimes it's stubbornness, to be honest with you, where I just get
Feel ya.
stuck in my ways. And but I love talking through it, and like you said, clubbing down this week could be a really big key, and the fact that he's showing a lot of improvement there. I like what you're saying about Wyndham Clark, um, dude. And absolutely, you're telling me that one of the golfers in the world right now keeps getting his number put down in like the 35 to 45 range. It's an absolute disgrace. It's because he's not a high profile name yet, Jack. Like, he's just not. And we've seen him win big tournaments. But in the eyes of many, you look at the rest of the guys in this field.
I just wonder if people don't like him. I kind of feel
there's
like people don't like him.
there's part that I think absolutely he's like a villain right now. But people love these other guys too. I don't know if it's just that they hate him, at least when they're betting on this stuff, or if you just really like the names above him. Because to me, there is absolutely no fucking reason why Jordan Spieth is 30-1. Even I don't care what his history is. Jordan Spieth at 30-1 and Wyndham Clark at 35 is bonkers.
Yeah, I
It's just
100% agree.
it's just bonkers. And yeah, you talk about when he's bad, when he's good, he can kind of compete. We've seen the volatility too, so the missed cuts don't scare me. Like, none of that scares me with Wyndham Clark, because I know when he's in it, he's in it, and we've
Yeah.
talked about that many times. So love the pick. Not sure yet, but you might have talked me into it yet, because I don't really have anybody else in this range, Jack. I did look kind of same as you. I looked really hard at Matthew Fitzpatrick this week, and even Zalatoris. But I'm going to pass on this range and kind of go a little bit further down the board. So I guess we can kind of kick it off there. We have Sahith Theegala at 40-1. We have Russell Henley 40-1, JT at 45, along with Shane Lowry. Your boy Corey Connors 55-1. We got Kim at 55, and Sam Burns at 55 as well. So I like Shane Lowry this week. I have not bet it yet, but I really like where his game is and what he can do at this course. I mean, we're talking about the accuracy. He's first this year in accuracy, and I think that could be really huge for him. And then also looking at, I'm going to say it before you say it this week. I don't know if you're on him, but I like Corey Connors this week as well, my friend. Connors' approach, good drive percentage, and the greens and reg rankings this year have all been very good, and he has good history here at Harbour Town as well. The T31 last year, I get it, that's not great, but T12 in 2022 and the T4 in 2021. So I'm liking it. I think Corey Connors can come in here and win this tournament. So now, like you, putting it to me, the Wyndham Whisperer, I'm going to put it to you. What are your thoughts on your boy Corey Connors and some of the guys in this area?
Yeah, Corey rated high in my model this week. I don't think I'm gonna get there on Corey. Sadly, I hate to do that to you. If it makes you feel,
We're both going the same. Yeah,
I know. If it makes you feel better, I am in on Lowry, and I snagged a big number on him.
Okay, there we go.
Guess what I got Shane at?
I'm gonna guess 60-1.
70.
Ooh.
Monday morning, I was literally looking on my phone at the FanDuel app, and I saw Shane Lowry opened with 75-1 odds, and I went, "Wow,
That's pretty nutty.
That's a real big number." And as I looked back down on my phone, it dropped to 70 in live time, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm betting this bad boy now." Because it's going to get absolutely steamed. Lowry's popular for a reason. I was on him last week at the Masters, T43. Yeah, it wasn't the week that I was hoping for, but
That's not terrible at the
It was
Masters though either.
it really wasn't. It wasn't like it was an abstract. It wasn't like it was a whole failure for him. And the ball striking remains good. Like it was a typical Shane Lowry week. He lost over 7 strokes putting at Augusta. That's what's going to happen. But he's now gained over 6 strokes in the ball striking categories in each of his last 4 PGA Tour events, and he's got 3 top 10s in his past 5 trips to Harbor Town. You referenced he's first in driving accuracy over the last 24 rounds. He's second in approach, second in greens and regulation, second in par fours, 400 to 450 yards. I mentioned that's where a lot of the par fours land this week. Third in strokes gained tee to green, third in good drive percentage. Like all the stats are leading me to Shane Lowry, and he's also been pretty good with his short game here. Obviously, the putter, doing enough on the greens on Sunday is kind of always the question with Shane Lowry, but he's gained strokes with the putter in 4 of his 6 career starts at Hilton Head. Even last year when he finished T67, he still gained over nearly 3 strokes from tee to green. So the numbers are really good here. The numbers have been good as a whole for Shane in 2024. Really was pretty lost for most of last year, but seems to have found it early on in this season. And yeah, man, it's been a long time since Shane has won in the United States, nearly a decade, believe it or not. But I really think there are few better places that set up for his game better than Harbor Town. So yeah, 70 to 1 was easy for me to buy back in. The other guy in this range that I'm thinking about is Sam Burns, because I'm just watching that number drop and drop and drop. And I know his wife, Caroline, is actually on track to give birth sooner than Meredith is for Scotty Scheffler. So that is a concern with Sam Burns, but like, I don't know if I can hold myself back at a 55, 60 to 1 number. And I know he hasn't been good lately after getting off to a really good start, but I talked about Copperhead being a potential comparison course. He's won there twice, had a top 10 here last year, has put up some good numbers at Hilton Head. So that would kind of be the other guy I'm looking at in this range. And honestly, because he hasn't been playing well and because his wife could go into labor, which I know could screw me if it happens on Friday or Saturday after he tees off. But if that gets to 60, man, I think there's real value there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in this range. But Lowry's the only one that I've officially bet at that 70 number.
What do you think a wife that's about to give birth would really love, Jack?
A dub, dude. That's what I was saying. That upcoming baby swag worked well for Scotty. Let's get it going for Sammy Burns this week, baby.
And money. Like you get paid.
You were thinking money. You weren't thinking a win. We were thinking money.
That's a win to them,
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, so they want to see them win.
Nice 3.5 mil. Yeah, that'll go a long way.
3.5. Hell yeah. Go ahead, do your thing, honey. We'll have the baby next week after you win.
Yeah, right.
So no, I mean, we joke around a little bit here, but no, it makes sense why you're looking at Sam Burns. I think if he's here, he's definitely gonna try, and I think he's a good fit here for sure. So yeah, I kind of like that. Outside of that, though, I do not have much interest outside of definitely not Justin Thomas.
What about Finau at 60 to 1? Like that's a big number. And listen, I know there's good players here, so that means Tony's not going to win. But
I liked him last week, and
he was good ball striking. I mean, he was good on approach. He gained almost 5 strokes off the tee. He gave 11 strokes back in the short game.
Bro, he was terrible in the short game.
Tony could not chip at Augusta last week.
He was legit awful. Like I wanted to throw up at certain points, but that might not be. It might be important here. I shouldn't say that because, like you said, if you're missing the greens, I don't know. It's tough to say, but I think Finau at 60 to 1, like he's got that equity. He should probably be in that 25 range, as far as like just potential goes. Don't hate 60 to 1. Not going to be on the Weasel.
No, but this is a good spot for him.
Yeah. Akshay, this is actually a really good spot for him too.
The thing about Akshay, for me, great fit, rated high in my model. I wonder if he's out of gas, man. This kid's been he's been playing
I wonder about the injury a little bit too, even though it got popped back in.
I mean, he played good at Augusta last week, and the puttings, he's gained strokes putting 4 weeks in a row. Like, that's really notable for Akshay. He's just played so frequently. He played the Players, Valspar, Houston, Valero, Masters, now Hilton Head, all in a row. So I do wonder if he's running on fumes a little bit, but like, I'm probably not in.
Yeah, I can't. I think you're onto something with the running out of gas, and maybe not because he's a young kid, right? But maybe he does. Maybe he's got a different gas tank than most of these guys because he's so young. But I'm not get there. I don't think. I will tell you though, 65-1. This is not the best number. I'm sure you can get a better number, and I'm going to desperately search for it when we get off the air here, so I can put that wager in. JT Poston at 65-1. Nothing crazy at the Masters. T30 finish, right? Still pretty good. That's not terrible. But he's had accuracy. I mean, it's ninth this season. 24th in greens and regulation percentage. And then looking at your model, Jack, he's 5th in strokes gained at Harbor Town. And I believe I saw maybe somewhat of the same thing on Data Golf as well. So, and he's got some really good finishes here, 3 top 10s. So the course history there, I think 65, and like I said, I'm looking for a better number there, but I think it's worth a shot. I think JT is probably my guy looking down here.
Yeah, and I'm usually not usually. I just am in general a big JT Poston fan. Big fan of the Postman. Yeah, these types of courses are usually his jam. Short courses, accuracy, positional, really good short game. Dude's a really good putter, one of the best on the PGA Tour. I don't know if I'm going to get there just because of the recent form for me. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up. Like, I think I'd rather play JT Poston as like a DFS play. I don't know if I bet him to win, given what he's been doing recently. But that's just me personally. We got to make our own arguments for our own players. But I do think this range is interesting. Like I mentioned, Finau, I'm not going to bet him. I'm not going to bet Akshay. I'm not going to bet Brian Harman. But I think you can make a case for all of those guys. Chris Kirk is really interesting, I think. He gained strokes putting at the Masters last week, and that's the first time he had done that since the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am the first week of February. So that's always notable. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Denny is a little interesting. I'm not going to bet Denny, but this feels like a course where he could hang around. Like there's
another annoying one.
100%. Yeah, this range has a lot of those guys that you could make cases for. That's kind of what I would call the 60 to 70, 75 range, is guys who could make cases for. Lowry's the only one I've pulled trigger on in that 60 to 70 pocket, but there is a lot of interest for me. I just don't know how much more I'm really going to be able. It's kind of down to like Sam Burns for me, and maybe like Sam Burns or one guy down here, since I am on Xander and I have officially bet one guy a little bit further down as well.
Okay, interesting to hear. I want to know who that guy is, and I'm going to make a guess when we get there, if that's all right.
Cool.
And then you tell me what you're actually on. Well, yeah, looking at the rest of this range here, I'm not on Jason Day this week. Believe it or not.
His outfits are so fucking bad, dude. They're
I knew you were
so
gonna say
bad.
that.
They're awful. He literally looks like a pack of smokes. Like Corey Trevor smokes, and it's just Jason Day running up instead of the cigs. Like, it's terrible.
I don't know what he's thinking half the time when he puts this stuff on. He does not have a good whoever's laying out his clothes. Like, somebody needs to pick out his wardrobe for him or something. But yeah, no, just not feeling Jason Day this week for whatever reason. Benihana is 75, and then Cam Davis. Cam Davis, this could be a good spot for him. Harris English, 75-1. You got Bezadenhout, 80-1. Lucas Glover, Sepp Straka, Sun JM, Taylor Moore, all in that 80-1 range. This is a good one here.
Yeah.
Very tempting. I mean, Bezadenhout, his putter is out here recently. So, I mean, that could be, a shot that you play. You just want to go for like the putting or, I think that could be a good potential there for him. But Cam Davis, I think that's also. I really think though, and I'm going to make the guess, and then I'm going to tell you who I like in this range. My guess is Taylor Moore for you, because I think Taylor Moore, there's a lot of things that line up for him, especially even in looking in your, I don't want to take what you're going to say away, but looking at your own model, he was one of the guys that really popped up and caught my eye, and some of the other courses that made sense, and even strokes gained here. But Lucas Glover, I think at 80-1, he's not. This is kind of an unreal price to me. I think, and I even saw it a little bit further at around 100-1 too, I believe. So kind of an unreal number for a guy that I can get really hot at times. And I mean, this is the type of a spot that I would want to play him at if I'm going to get tempted at all. But Jack, was I right about Taylor Moore, or is it someone else maybe in this range?
You are correct about Taylor Moore. It is
All
Taylor
right.
Moore. Got him at 80-1. Honestly, it did get he was down to 66-1 for most of the week. But as I told you before we jumped on this to record, some of the numbers have kind of drifted a little bit further back here on this Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, 80-1. I mean, for a guy that ranked 11th in my model this week to get 80-1 odds felt pretty good to me. Taylor Moore's been on a really good run, man. There haven't been a lot of high-end finishes other than the T2 that he had at the Houston Open. His best result this year is T12 at the Valspar, but just racking up really solid finishes. He was T20 last week at the Masters, came T11 here last year in his debut at Harbor Town, and these just kind of setups in general have always been Taylor Moore's jam a little bit. Not only did he finish 11th here last year, but of course picked up his first victory at the Valspar Championship, a course that I talked about having some correlation. He's also finished in the top 10 in his career at the Wyndham Championship and at the RSM Classic. Both of those are comp courses to me, and also has finished inside the top 40 in both of his last two trips to TPC Sawgrass as well. So yeah, a lot of high-end finishes on these types of setups for Taylor Moore, and all parts of his game have been really good. He's gained strokes ball striking and with his short game in 4 outings in a row. Really good around the green guy, really good drive percentage. The putter is kind of what it comes down to, but he gained 8 strokes putting here last year. And I think if his ball striking and around the green play continues on with what it's been the last month or so, if he even gains half of that 8 strokes, if he gains 4, I think he's going to be in the mix to pick up the second win of his career. He also ranks 35th in strokes gained putting over the past 12 rounds. So really not all that terrible despite there being some ups and downs. So yeah, Taylor Moore was the one that I locked in from this range. Lucas Glover, I do think is really interesting. Of course, won at Sedgefield last year, a course that's very similar to this one. The ball striking's been good all year long, and he gained strokes putting at Augusta. Of all the places you expect Lucas Glover to be a nightmare fucking putting at. You would think it would be Augusta based on what he's done for the majority of this year, but I was really encouraged by that. Yeah, he opened at 120-1, so I still am interested in the 80, and to me, yeah, it's between Glover and Sam Burns is the last guys on my card. I really like both of those two guys. Cam Davis, I did give a hard look at for a while. I was actually staring at an 80-1 in the enhanced market over the last couple of days, which just never ended up pulling trigger. I've never really been on the Cam Davis train a ton. I do remember, though, interestingly enough, I bet him at the Wyndham Championship last year, Sedgefield. So I clearly have liked him on courses like this in the past. I honestly I like Glover more. I just think Glover has the better upside and is at a bigger number. I don't know if I'm actually going to get on Glover, but those are all the guys that the rest of the guys that I like under 100-1 this week, Joey.
Yeah, one more point on Glover too. Since 2004, he's played the most rounds out of anyone that's in this field this week at Harbor Town. So
Yeah.
he's got the experience here, tons of experience, 66 rounds played.
Grizzled
Altogether.
vet,
So,
baby.
yeah, man, it's like the old Stewie Sink thing, man. Just when you think he's out, they pull him
me
right back in. And I think that could be the case here with Lucas Glover as well, because we saw him go on a hot stretch, and maybe once we thought he was getting all right, he's pretty much dead in the water now. He's kind of coming back to life a little bit. So
yeah,
I'm liking that call. Maybe we can hit that one. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm not going super long this week. There's one other guy I'm on, but are you on anybody 100 to 1 or anyone from 90 to 1 to let's just call it a long shot past that?
Yeah, yeah, we're in that part of the board. The shout out for the names, and there really aren't many for me. I think Hadwin's interesting. Probably 2 months ago, people would have been crying if there was an 110 on Eric Cole to win at Hilton Head. So I think that's an interesting number. I'm probably not going to get there. I did tell you I have made my first each way bet ever. I'm really not in the each way market like ever. But this was one that got me, and I think you're going to appreciate it. I'm on Dietrich.
Yeah,
150,
let's go.
150 to 1 with 6 places each way because God fucking knows there's no way he plays well on Sunday if he's there. So I want the places. Like, that's when you know when it tells you about Thomas Dietrich's Sunday scaries is when I'm betting my first each way ever, and it's on Thomas Dietrich. But yeah, man.
You got it at 150?
150 with, so if he places inside the top 6, I'll get 30 to 1 odds.
That's a great bet. I like that bet because
Yeah,
he's probably
so
not going to win, but like that
probably
gives
not
you a
gonna
nice
fucking win.
floor. Yeah,
Exactly. But yeah, it was really good at the Houston Open, and his last time out quietly was good at the Valspar as well with a T17 there. The putter is always liable to get super hot. The approach is always liable to get super bad on the weekends, but
and
150
the
to
putter
1,
too
why
on the
not?
weekend.
Yeah, oh yeah, when he needs it the most, he's suddenly not the best putter in the field anymore. Yeah, that's why I took the placements with Dietrich, but he was not a whole lot of interest down here. Mackenzie Hughes is a shout out I'll give, 171. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, Mac Daddy, this is a perfect course for him.
Yeah.
With the putter, he's a shorter course type of dude too. So I do like that call too. Of course, my boy Dietrich, I'm rooting for you on that bet. That's a fun one.
Ooh, I don't know if I've ever bet Thomas Dietrich, honestly. I don't think I have.
I don't think you
this
have
might
either.
this might be my first Dietrich bet, so we'll see how it
You
goes.
were way back when I started talking about him a lot. You kind of had some interest, and then you saw how horrible he had played on the weekends, and all of that was completely lost in your mind. Like you're like, I'm done. Dietrich, I don't want anything to do with him. So I'm encouraged by this, Jack. You being on him here, I'm a little bit encouraged.
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign for things to come. Maybe he's on the up and up. But I will tell you, it's been a little while. We're getting close to the coastal track.
Oh,
it's been a little while.
He was so bad at Augusta last week. Like, so bad.
I don't care, Jack.
So bad. I know. I can smell the charcoal from here.
I don't care. Shrimps on the bobby. Get out the grills. The grill master, Emiliano Grillo. All right, look at this. 120 to 1, right? Is that what his number is?
Yeah.
Okay. Last 3 years here. T7. Cut. T2. Fifth, those are the last 3 years. Fifth in driving accuracy in your model, Jack. I think that's for the field, correct? 27th in greens and reg percentage, 13th in good drive percentage. So a lot of things we're looking at. And I just feel like it doesn't matter with him because he's got the talent. If he's going to struggle 1 week, he can bounce back absolutely the next week and just pop out of nowhere. He's kind of like what I was talking about with Morikawa last week, where I don't really look at his form all the time and just be like, oh, well, that's what he's going to do this next week. I think he's just one of those guys where it is very, very random for him and totally could be just a course thing at times too. So the fact that he can go, even on this course in particular, go from a T2 to the next year cut to a T7, he's got volatility in him. And so I think that volatility can sometimes work in our advantage. Will he win this? Probably absolutely not. He could be another good one to use as like maybe a two-way bet too, if you're going to look in that sort of arena. I mean, I don't usually do those bets either, but you're giving me an idea here if we're going to go with this long shot, because I could see him finishing with like a top 10 or top 5 type of placement. So I don't know, man. I think shrimps on the bobby. Let's go.
I'll be rooting for you, man. I'm always rooting for Emiliano Grillo, and he's made my card a lot this year because off the tee, yeah, super accurate, and the approach is always good. And I actually did think about him this week, as I usually do most weeks. I'm always inclined to take a gander at old
Yeah.
Emiliano Grillo's player profile, see what he's been up to. The real reason that I wasn't in on him this week is because he's lost strokes putting 2 weeks in a row. And yes, one of those is the Masters. You don't expect a player with
Those are
his
terrible greens. So
right.
hard.
Right, but the biggest reason why I was in on Grillo at the Mexico Open and at Riv and at the Arnold Palmer Invitational is because he had been putting well, and yeah, he just hasn't been putting as good in his last 2 starts. So the Masters is probably one to just throw away. Honestly, he literally finished dead fucking last, like dead last. Had the worst score through 2 rounds. So only up from here, Joey. Only up from here.
Don't stop on my parade, all right?
I'm not stopping on your parade. I mean, I looked at the guy. I
you're
thought about
unit
getting
shaming
back on.
again. You're unit shaming again.
I'm most certainly not unit shaming.
No, I know. I'm fucking with you. I get it though. Like he was absolutely a dog piss last week. Or dog shit, whichever one you whichever type. Yeah, they both work. Whichever type of I don't know, dog whatever you want to say. So I actually do not believe that he's going to win this tournament, but I'm going to bet on him. So how about that? That's what we're going to go with.
I don't absolutely hate it. And where he won last year, Colonial, is like kind of similar to this. So like it could work. And you've seen the results. I believe it.
Yeah. I hope it happens, man. If we can get a Dietrich winner or a Grillo winner down here.
It'll be Scotty first, Dietrich second, Grillo third.
I won't do the show next week.
I'd be pretty heartbroken.
I won't do the show. Actually, no. If we do the 2-way bets, we can still do the show. We'll still make money. But other than that, man, if you want to toss out some other names, I have no idea who to toss out. Ricky Fowler is playing horribly. Justin Rose is 200-1. Webb, former champ, 100-1. It gets pretty awful. There was one guy I wanted to ask you about if you know anything really about what he's been doing lately. I know I saw on your model he was up there a little bit higher, and I wonder if this is more so kind of like what you were talking about earlier with one of the guys being more of a DFS bet. Chandler Phillips at 400-1.
Yeah,
he popped
DFS
in your
bet.
model.
DFS bet. I like Chandler Phillips. I don't know if you know anything about him. He's hilarious. All he literally wants to do is duck hunt. Like, I feel like he could give a shit about golf. He's a hilarious Southern boy. Good dude. Grinder from the Corn Ferry Tour. Yeah, I'm not going to bet on him to win, but I think it could be a fine DFS play. I did notice he was high in the model this week.
It was interesting, right? Just looking at that.
Yeah.
And then another guy here who, when he's rolling, he's up near the top. Alejandro Tosti, who's a character himself. He's 500-1. I mean,
not on this course, man. Like, he bombs the shit out of the ball. That's the best part of his game. I just don't think that's going to do him any good here. It's all about positioning. You need to be good around the greens. I just don't think this is the spot for him.
I think he gets really frustrated around the greens. That's where he gets the most frustrated, it seems like.
Just a fiery guy. But yeah, no, I don't think this is the setup for Toasty.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Other than that, man, I mean, there's Seamus Power, who's 350-1, who sometimes on the coastal tracks he can be good at. So
that's funny you say that because I just pulled him up on rickrungood.com. It's been better. Like, the approach has been good. The rest has been a fucking roll of the dice. Like, no consistency in any other area of his game. And he's like just finding consistency with his irons too. So if you want to, like, I bet a top 20 pays pretty good. I wouldn't bet him to win.
Top 20 probably gets you what, like plus 600 or something?
Maybe not that. I'll find it real quick.
That's got to be a good payout though. As you're looking that up, I'm gonna look at some head-to-heads too, some of these matchups. I'm gonna try to get more into this a little bit more weekly. I mean, this is something that I took pride in a lot last year, and took a little bit of time off actually. Before I pull that up, let's look back at last week, because I actually had a decent week last week, Jack, with the head-to-head bets and some of the props. It wasn't great by any means.
Yeah, no, I saw you had some decent guys. Seamus Power is plus 450 to finish in the top 20.
That's Yeah, that's a good number.
There's 70 guys in this field. You know,
That's a really good number.
he's got to
So
beat
here are my
49 of
matchups,
them.
Jack. Willie Z over Fitzpatrick, got that one. Fino over Thomas, got that one. Brooks over Spieth, got that one. Hideki over Spieth, got that one. Reed over Akshay. Reed over Sergio Garcia, got both of those. The ones that I missed on were Tony Finau over Fitzpatrick and Nick Dunlap over List and Shane Lowry over Terrell Hatton. So overall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 on the week for the head-to-heads. I'll take it. I mean, some of those are plus money. And like the Akshay one, the Akshay and Reed one, that was minus 140. That was the worst odds that I took in that. But that's something that I did like doing that last week. So I'm starting to feel a little bit good about it. I know the Masters is a little bit different. You can kind of gauge it a little bit better than some of these other tournaments sometimes. But if you want to talk through some of these matchups with me, I think it's kind of fun to do. And then we'll get started to wrap it up because we are going a little bit overboard this week, 115. We have Akshay and Tom Kim head-to-head matchup. Jack, what do you think there?
Akshay.
He's minus
Akshay.
120. He's a
And
favorite.
Tom Kim got crushed in the outright market this week. He opened at like 120 down to like 45, 50, 55. I'm not there. I'm not. Like, and look, I believe in the kid. I believe in the talent, but we saw one round. And I know it was 65 at Augusta. It's a fucking hell of a round. But like, after seeing what I saw from Tom in person at Valero, like, no, I'm out.
That's a sour taste in your mouth now, huh?
Give me Akshay.
I like it too. Minus 120, I don't think that's terrible. This one I thought was really good to me. And I don't know if it's the greatest floor play, but I feel strongly about one of these guys over the other. Patrick Cantlay is plus 100 against Tommy Fleetwood. I like Cantlay.
I feel like that's a trap.
It could be.
I feel like that's a trap. Like, I don't know. You're also higher on Cantlay than I am. I'm not really high on Cantlay, so I'd personally stay away from that one. I really don't lean either direction.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
My concern is like Tommy fucking weasels his way inside the top 10 on Sunday by shooting like 6 under.
Yeah, that could be a total concern there. With Tommy, Tommy's just feels like that backdoor top 10 every week.
Always.
Let's see here. They got Rory against Oberg, sorry.
Give me Ludwig.
Yeah, I like that too. He's minus 120. Other than that, oh God.
Give me one more. Give me one more because I got to jet on out of here, brother.
Yeah, I'm with you. We got Will Zalatoris and Jordan Spieth. Spieth is Zalatoris is minus 120.
I told you I don't love Zal on these greens. Jordan's
he has a great course history here too, so I think that might be a trap.
I mean, I literally have zero faith in Jordan, though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too intrigued in that one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough week for matchups. I'm gonna have to keep looking here, but we got to get out of here. So, Jack, if you have a prop, you can give it to me. But other than that, one and done pick for the week because you are up, my friend. It's your turn.
I got a one and done for you. Matthew Fitzpatrick. Going with Matt Fitzpatrick.
Okay. I like it. This is something I really didn't think about coming before I came on here, and I absolutely should have. Trying to think of some guys that I'm high on this week. So I don't want to take somebody that's super high up there.
That's kind of why I burned Fitzy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good call. I don't think I've taken Poston, have I?
Yeah, you took Poston at the RSM in the fall.
Jesus Christ.
Came 44th. Still beat me. Christ. I took Justin Suh. He came 64th.
I'm pretty sure I've taken Corey Connors.
You used Corey Connors 2 weeks ago at Valero.
Lowry?
You used Lowry at the Players' Championship.
Jesus, I'm using everybody. I know I've used Wyndham, too.
I don't think you have used Wyndham. No, you haven't used Wyndham.
Oh, do I want to burn him here? I don't really love anybody else though, as far as a one and done goes, and I need to catch up. Let's go with the Windy City Flyer, baby.
All right, I like to hear that.
Yeah, you were high on them. You're making me really think about it. So
All right.
yeah, I like the Windy City Flyer, even though I might not bet them in the outright market. We'll see. But Jack, any final thoughts here before we go ahead and wrap this thing up? We got the RBC Heritage this weekend. Masters was last weekend. It's a good time for golf, man.
Excellent time for golf. Yeah, great tournament. I love this course. Glad it's another signature event. And then we get a little bit of a relaxing time these next couple of weeks after the Zurich. The team event will be the following week. I never bet on it, and we've never done a show for it. I don't think we'll do one. We'll probably just be relaxing. It's kind of a bye week for golf fans all around. And then even the CJ Cup Byron Nelson after that. Don't really know how many big dogs are going to be there. It feels like a good kind of like 2-week break potentially for a lot of the big stars after the Masters and the signature event at Harbor Town right after. So yeah, man, looking forward to this event. Been in some good form recently, even though didn't get it done at the Masters last week. 2 winners in the last 3 weeks. Wyndham Clark with a second the week before that. Will Zalatoris was in the mix at Arnold Palmer as well. So things have been trending in the proper direction over the last few weeks. And like Rory McIlroy said at the Valero, I feel kind of the same way. I feel like I do a lot of my best work in golf betting in runs. So hopefully can keep this run going here this week at Harbor Town. I've had some close calls there over the years. So let's hopefully we can knock this one off here finally this week.
I think that'd be a great thing for us. And you are in great form, my friend. So yeah, right track. It's the right time. I think I don't even have to ask the question because we are going to get it outright this week, Jack. How about that? Let's get a little bit more confidence, positivity.
I love it.
It's not can we get an outright? It's we're going to get an outright. So with that said, we are Golf on Tap, and you can follow us at On Tap Golf on the S machine. You can follow Jack at Jack Bushman 2. You can follow me at Joey Knows Nothing. Don't know Ross is at. You guys just had a show. Was that last night? You guys did a preview show?
Yeah, so you can go find Ross at RossJohn22 on X. I got you covered.
Go ahead, check that out. Once again, shout out to our sponsors at Bet Rivers and the promo code on tap up to $200 deposit match at Bet Rivers. Go ahead and make yourself some money. Take some of our picks, take your own picks, do whatever you got to do. But until next time, we are out. Crack them, lock them, and fuck them.